Okay, so now I want to take you through the fourth and final assignment for GRSC 6042, and I have given you this spreadsheet file called GLM example. So I want you to open this file and take a look. So the data that's needed to answer the questions is in the first three columns. We have a gender column, which has M for male and F for female. We have an age column, which has the age in years to the nearest year. And we have a continuous outcome variable. Now, unfortunately, we can't fit the general linear model inside Excel very easily, but I'm going to show you how we can get around that issue. So in columns F and G, I have reorganized the data on gender and outcome so we can do the analysis of variance. So inside Excel, if we look at the tools, assuming you've already installed the tool pack, we can choose data analysis, and we can choose up at the top ANOVA single factor. So in that ANOVA single factor, we first of all have to tell it where the data is in the input range. So if we choose the input range and click on this, we can select the data that is in columns F and G, rows 1 to 21. Click back. It's grouped by columns because we have male and female in the two columns. We have the labels in the first row, meaning male and female. We click OK, and it will create a new worksheet containing the results. Okay, so that's how we do the analysis of variance for question 1. For question 2, I asked you to do a simple regression of how the outcome depends on the age. So for that, we're going to select the outcome and age columns, which I've reorganized here on the right in columns I and J. So again, we do choose data analysis. This time we want to move down to regression. And again, we have to tell it this time where the X's and the Y's are. So the Y's are in column I, the X's are in column J. So I need to change this. At the moment, this says J and K. So my X's is in this column here. And then I've got labels in the first row, so we'll use that. And if I click OK, it will produce the regression outputs. I can choose to add in the residuals. I can choose to use the residual plots. I can have the line fit plots, and I can have normal probability plots. All of these I can choose. So those are relatively straightforward and are similar to what we've done in the previous assignments. But the third question asks you to use the general linear model to identify the effect of gender and age together. So that's tricky because the tool pack doesn't include this. If you're using a more sophisticated statistical tool, you should be able to fit the general linear model directly. So how can we handle this? Well, because our gender variable only has two levels, male and female, we can actually use regression models to fit the general linear model in this case. So you will see in column K, I have recoded the gender. Well, I've put a 0 for female and a 1 for male. So that means if we include this gender recoded variable in the model, in the regression model, the coefficient of gender will tell us the difference between male and female, right? Because that coefficient for gender will be the difference between a male, which is coded as 1, and a female, which is coded as 0. So we can fit a model with both age and gender by putting age and gender in as regression variables after doing this recoding. So again, we would select columns I to K. We would go to the, if I can get my mouse back, we would go back to the tools, we would go back to data analysis, go back to regression. The difference is that this time my X range is columns J and K together. Otherwise, I can do all the choices as before. I can choose to have the residuals, the normal probability plots, and the residual plots. Okay, so you'll get another worksheet showing you the outcome from the general linear model to identify the effect of both gender and age. Now, the last question in the assignment says, compare the results from the 3 questions above, 1, 2, and 3, and explain the apparent discrepancy in the result, because your conclusions about the effect of age and gender will be different when you put them in together from when you model them separately. And I want you to see whether you have any comments about the design of the research that generated the data set. So, for example, you might take a look at the range of ages within the male and the range of ages within the female and see whether you find anything interesting that might have something to do with why these results seem to be different. Okay? So this is really to try and encourage you to think a little bit more deeply about the data that you were given rather than just simply doing an analysis. Okay? If you have any questions, remember you can email me or WhatsApp me. Okay, thanks.